This is how you read the room before it turns against you. You walk into a nightclub and the music is blasting and the lights are flashing and people are drinking, laughing, dancing. And for the next few hours, your brain is focused on one thing. But here's the problem. Your brain is also doing something else. It's constantly scanning the environment for danger. The problem is you may be too distracted to listen to it. And that's where club psychology becomes important. Because most dangerous situations don't begin with a punch. They begin with something much smaller. A person getting too close, someone repeatedly watching you, a stranger trying to separate you from your friends, a disagreement that suddenly changes tone, a crowd that begins moving in one direction, security suddenly appearing, or that strange feeling in your stomach telling you something just changed. Most people ignore that feeling. They wait for proof. And sometimes by the time you have proof, your options have already disappeared. Welcome to Survive Protocol. Tonight we're going inside the psychology of the nightclub. Not how to fight, not how to be the toughest person in the room, but how to recognize problems before they become emergencies. Because the best fight is the one you never have to be in. The first rule, read the environment before you even order a drink. Look around. And I'm not talking about walking into a club looking paranoid. I'm talking about developing a habit. When you enter a new environment, give yourself 5 seconds. Look left, look right, look behind you, find the exits, look for security, look at the crowd, and then ask yourself one question. If something went wrong right now, where would I go? That's it. You don't need a military background. You don't need special equipment. You don't need to memorize the entire building. You simply need to know your options. Because here's something people don't think about. When panic hits, your brain doesn't suddenly become better at navigation. It becomes worse. People tunnel vision, they follow the crowd, they freeze, they run toward the same exit everyone else is using, and sometimes the safest exit isn't the one you entered through. So make this automatic. Every new environment, locate the exits. Where you position yourself matters. If you're sitting at a table, standing at the bar, or hanging around the dance floor, know what's behind you. Can people approach from multiple directions? Are you boxed between furniture? Can you easily move? Is your path to the exit clear? This isn't about being afraid, it's about maintaining options. Think about it this way. If you're standing somewhere and you have 3 clear directions, you can move, you have options. If you're trapped between a wall, furniture, and a crowd, your options disappear. And when people become stressed, they don't think, let me calculate my available escape routes. They react. That's why positioning matters. You're not looking for the perfect seat. You're looking for freedom of movement. Now let's talk about one of the biggest distractions in modern nightlife, your phone. You're walking through a crowded club, head down, reading a message. You don't see who's approaching. You don't notice someone following you. You don't notice the crowd shifting. You don't notice that the person you were standing beside has moved closer. Your phone didn't create the danger. Your attention created the vulnerability. And there's another psychological effect. When you're staring at a screen, your brain is focused on a tiny information field. Everything outside that field becomes background noise. That's why situational awareness doesn't mean staring at everyone. It means periodically coming back to your environment. Check your phone, put it away, look around, check your surroundings, then go back to enjoying yourself. You're not trying to live like a security guard. You're simply refusing to become completely disconnected from your environment. Now let's talk about something that happens constantly in clubs. Someone approaches you, maybe they're flirting, maybe they're friendly, maybe they want to buy you a drink, maybe they simply want to talk. And here's the important part. Look at behavior. Are they respecting your personal space? Do they accept the word no? Do they keep trying after you've clearly rejected them? Do they repeatedly position themselves between you and your friends? Do they keep asking where you're going next? Do they try to move you somewhere quieter? One behavior by itself doesn't prove malicious intent. No, that's extremely important because behavioral awareness isn't about deciding, it's about recognizing. That's a very different mindset. You're not accusing, you're observing. You're not confronting, you're creating options. Here is one of the most important psychological concepts to understand. Isolation increases vulnerability. Imagine you're with 5 friends. Someone approaches you, you start talking. Then they say, "Come over here." You say, "Why?" They respond, "It's too loud." So you move, now you're 20 feet away from your friends, then another 20 feet, now you're in a hallway. Maybe nothing bad happens. Maybe this person genuinely wanted to talk somewhere quieter. But here's the psychological principle. You just surrendered environmental control. You moved away from your support system. You moved away from people who know you. You moved into an environment you understand less. And that's why you should never allow social pressure to override your instincts. You don't have to be rude. You can simply say, "We can talk here," or "I'll stay with my friends," or "Let's go back over there." Remember, someone who respects you will respect a reasonable boundary. Someone who becomes angry because you won't isolate yourself has just given you information. Here's where situational awareness gets interesting. Most people watch the person they're worried about. Experienced observers watch everyone around them. Because crowds communicate. Imagine you're at a club. Suddenly you notice 3 things. The music changes, people nearby stop dancing, several people turn their heads toward one location, then security starts moving. That's a change in the environment. You don't need to know exactly what happened. You don't need to investigate. You don't need to pull out your phone and record it. You simply recognize something changed. And when the environment changes, you reassess. Maybe you move closer to your friends. Maybe you step away from the developing situation. Maybe you position yourself near an exit. The key is simple. Don't become part of a problem just because you're curious about it. You don't need to know what happened. You need to know whether you want to be standing there when it gets worse. Most confrontations don't appear out of nowhere. They often escalate. It might begin with a disagreement. Then voices get louder. Body language changes. People start crowding around. Someone begins pointing, someone steps closer, friends start getting involved, and suddenly there are 10 people watching. This is where people make a mistake. They think nothing has happened yet, but that's not the question. The question is, where is this going? If the energy is escalating, you don't need to wait for the explosion. Move. If you're with friends, communicate. If necessary, alert security. Create distance. Don't become the audience standing 5 feet away from an argument, because when violence erupts, people who weren't involved can get hurt simply because they were standing nearby. Your goal isn't to determine who's right. Your goal is to avoid becoming part of the incident. Now we need to talk about alcohol, man, because alcohol doesn't just affect the person drinking. It changes the environment. People become louder. Boundaries can become weaker. Judgment becomes impaired. Reaction time can decrease, and people may misread situations. That's why one of the smartest survival decisions you can make is knowing your own limit. Don't compete. Don't drink because someone pressured you. Don't accept an open drink from someone you don't trust. And never allow embarrassment to make decisions for you. If you've had too much, your job isn't to prove you can still handle yourself. Your job is to get somewhere safe. Stay with people you trust. Use a reputable ride service or designated driver. And don't drive impaired, because the most dangerous decision you can make after a night out might happen before you ever reach the parking lot. Now, here's where psychology gets really interesting. Sometimes your body notices something before your conscious mind can explain it. You might suddenly feel uncomfortable. You might notice yourself checking the same person repeatedly. You might feel like someone is standing too close. You might notice that a situation doesn't feel right. That doesn't automatically mean danger. Your instincts can be wrong, but here's the rule. You don't have to prove someone is dangerous. You don't have to justify leaving. You can simply say and move. Think of intuition as an alarm. An alarm isn't proof that your house is on fire. It's a signal telling you, so don't blindly follow your instincts, but don't automatically ignore them either. Here's the biggest lesson I want you to remember. Your greatest survival advantage in a nightclub isn't strength, it's options. If you can leave, you have an option. If you're with friends, you have an option. If you know where the exits are, you have an option. If you recognize escalation early, you have an option. And the earlier you recognize the problem, the more options you have. That's why situational awareness is so powerful, because survival isn't always about what you can do after something happens. It's about what you can recognize before it happens. So the next time you walk into a nightclub, don't just look at the dance floor. Look at the environment, find your exits, know where your friends are, keep your phone from consuming your attention, respect boundaries, watch for isolation, notice changes in crowd behavior, recognize escalation, know your limits, and most importantly, give yourself permission to leave. You don't need to win every interaction. You don't need to prove you're fearless. You don't need to be the toughest person in the room. You just need to be the person who notices what's happening before everybody else does. Because in the real world, awareness is a weapon you don't have to carry. And sometimes the smartest person in the room is the one who quietly walks out before the room becomes dangerous. This is Survive Protocol. Share, subscribe, and survive.